How much worse can this get? We have just seen the worst crypto liquidation event of all time. Are we about to see significantly lower levels, or is it time to buy the dip and anticipate upside from here? In this video, I'm going to tell you the main root causes behind this mass liquidation event. I'm also going to talk about my own personal strategy to be able to cope with what is going on right now. So hit that like button and let's get on with it. Now guys, as we look across to cryptobubbles.net, things are looking pretty scary indeed. We have seen a massive liquidation event. So why has this happened, and is it the right time to be getting back into the market? Well, I'll answer that second question in a moment. But right now, the cause of all of this is none other than greed. As I come across to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we can see that extreme greed still exists in the market, even though Bitcoin has dipped nearly 9% from its all-time highs. But while we haven't seen much pain in Bitcoin, we have seen max pain pushed into the altcoins. And why is that? Well, because since Donald Trump got elected to become the next president of the United States, everyone has decided that they are a crypto trader and they are here to make millions of dollars in crypto, which is obviously great, but there's a problem with that. People are starting to take bigger and bigger risks, thinking that there is no potential for any downside. And what they've been doing is they've been leveraging positions. So most of the liquidations haven't come in Bitcoin, but they have come in the altcoins. People have been borrowing money from exchanges and betting big on the crypto markets in order to try and see some massive upside gains. But guess what happens? When everyone gets too bullish and everyone gets too greedy, eventually, if there are any sort of dips in the markets, then those people who are over leveraged get liquidated and the markets tend to cascade down. Not only that, we have a lot of new people in the markets right now who have been panicked selling like crazy, despite the video I made back on Saturday telling you that panic selling was one of the stupidest things that you can do in a crypto bull market. So the question on everyone's lips out there right now, is it time to buy this dip, or are things about to get much worse? Now, as we look across at the Bitcoin chart, which is the key to all of this, we can see that the price has dipped around 6.7% at current levels and is previously, just a couple of days ago, dipped 11%. Now again, dips another 10% all the way down to $94,000. If we go back to the previous bull market, then we have maybe a little cause for concern, because there was times in the last bull market where Bitcoin dipped nearly 10%. It then dipped again nearly 19% in a single day, and then it had this long 2 or 3 week sell-off where it dipped about 30%. Are we in one of these phases right now, or possibly in one of these phases right now? It's important to understand that if we're in one of these phases, that we do have one of these then maybe ahead of us, or are we just experiencing this right now, and are we about to see much lower levels? Well, here's the news for you that maybe you don't want to know. It's damn difficult to identify whether or not we are in one of these phases or whether it's this phase. And whether someone wants to tell you or not exactly what's going to happen over the next coming days or not is up to them, but trust me, they don't know, okay? They don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of days. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the next couple of days, but I can prepare for it either way. While I might not know what's going to happen in the next 24 hours or 48 hours, I tell you what I do know. I know right now that we are at the end of a halving year, an election year, where next year we are going to move into a full-blown bull market. A full-blown bull market that's going to be driven by a variety of different things. Maybe it's because of the Bitcoin ETF, or maybe it's because Gary Gensler is going to step down from the SEC and XRP is going to go up. And maybe it's because Donald Trump, a pro-crypto president, is going to move into the White House and all things are going to be rosy for crypto. Whatever the magical story is behind the crypto markets, ultimately, it's all just being driven by liquidity. We are going to see quantitative easing continue into next year because we have to, because otherwise economies will fall apart, and we're already starting to see that globally, which is why China is now printing money in a big way. We've seen the US printing money, we're seeing Europe printing money, US will start to decrease interest rates further. This is all bullish for crypto. So ignore all that smoke screen of BS across it all. Ultimately, the only thing that drives crypto is the underlying liquidity. And the liquidity markets won't top until the start of 2026, which means we've got at least 7 or 8 months of crypto bull market ahead of us. So if we know that, then do we panic sell thinking that maybe the markets are going to move lower? Do we buy the dip thinking that markets are going to move higher? Well, should be fairly obvious, shouldn't it? If the markets over the next year or so are going to be going up, then it doesn't make sense to be selling assets trying to plan for lower moves if we don't know whether they're going to come or not. Does it make sense for buying the dip right now or trying to wait for dips further on, thinking that we might get lower levels? Well, that's up to you, but I'm going to show you a strategy to be able to cope with whatever happens next. The right answer, really though, is that actually panic selling dips is the worst thing you can do right now, okay? Because yes, markets can absolutely move lower, but you don't know whether they move lower or not. Therefore, you have to prepare for every eventuality, because I guarantee the day you sell the dip, tomorrow the markets are going to rip against you, and then you're going to be very sad, because then you're going to be forced to FOMO in at much higher levels after taking an L here, and that's going to be very painful for you. So let's have a look at Bitcoin and identify whether this dip can continue, and a strategy that is fail-safe, whether it goes up or down from here. You can see that Bitcoin has been going up and down to key areas, and you can see that when it goes down to levels, it finds support in areas it's found support before. So, for example, you can see these wicks providing support here. We then get down to the same area, it gets bought up. You can then have areas down here again. Now, what I would suggest doing would be to draw a few of these boxes, identifying areas of support on a Bitcoin chart. Now, what we know is if Bitcoin is to fail at this level, is chances are it goes down to this next level at $91,000. What I can do is I can set an alert by right-clicking on this chart and adding an alert to Bitcoin here. Now, what this is going to do for me is it's going to give me an indicator that Bitcoin has just hit another level, and it's going to give me the confidence to know that there's another better chance now that Bitcoin bounces. The lower Bitcoin goes, the higher the chance that it bounces, but it won't tend to just stop in the middle of thin air. You can see it's kind of dropped here, and now it's sort of messing around. Will it go higher from here? Well, it has found this support. There is a chance that it goes higher from here, but things are all good. So what do we want to do? Well, if you have been particularly keen on buying any particular coin out there, then go and have a look at the charts for those particular coins. Now, I'm just looking at Aether. It's a coin that I personally wanted to get into again and add more to, but I missed out on this kind of dip, so I waited. Okay, we were running up into this area of resistance, saying that maybe we might get a pullback. So what am I looking for? I am looking for areas that it pulls back to in terms of previous resistance or support. Resistance looks like this, it hits, it goes down. Resistance is like that, or support, it dips and it goes back up again. So in this area of time around here, you can see that we have a good entry point for Aether. You can see that it wicked down into this area. It gave us a good opportunity for buying. And if you had that alert set on the Bitcoin chart, when it dips back into here, it will ping. You know that you then have coins that you're interested in buying that maybe you didn't get the chance of buying. So whatever coin it might be, Aether, maybe it's EOS, maybe it's SUI, have areas in time always set there ready so that if you get the dip, you are ready to go and buy it. It's also going to help with your emotional game. Instead of being terrified and scared that the markets are going to bleed and you're going to lose everything, this is a time to be like, you know what, maybe I was a little bit greedy, maybe I could have chilled out of things. And now I know that if the prices are going down, now I'm going to turn myself from a scared person into an opportunist, a hunter. I'm ready to go and capitalize on this next opportunity. I'm happy that we're getting this dip because I didn't think I was going to get another one. Okay, so once you have your areas drawn on the map, happy days. Okay, it means I can then turn on knowing that I've got this dip and be like, hey, Aether is now back in my buy zone. I can go and get it. What else? Render. Is Render in a place that I want to buy it? Actually, no, it's not. Okay, so why not? Well, because Render isn't really running into any significant areas of resistance or support yet. Okay, I would say they're probably a little bit lower for Render, maybe down here around 7.2. So what does that mean for me? Well, it means that I don't buy Render because it's not still of good value for me. There's probably other coins out there like Aether that are sat in a better zone for me than Render. What about SUI? Again, SUI pretty high. Any of these coins that have pumped really aggressively recently are at higher risk for bigger downside moves should Bitcoin continue lower. And yes, Bitcoin can very much continue lower. Whether it happens or not, I'm not absolutely certain. Okay, but one thing does give me a little bit of a feeling that maybe, just maybe, we do come a little lower. And it's this. Obviously, fear and greed index is high. But I wrote this comment earlier on my Twitter page saying, worse is still yet to come. And people are like, it's a bottom signal. People are like, you're not going to make it. Other people are like, what the F are you talking about? Getting really pretty angry and pretty aggressive at me. this is usually a bit of a kind of a top signal. Okay, I'm not saying that we can't bounce from here, but I'm saying that this level of greed and this level of like confidence in the market will eventually get knocked out of people during a bull market, whether it happens now or whether we see another pump for then another sort of a scare shakeout is very much up for question. But this is where we're like, well, you know what? Happy days. I've got money. I'm ready to enter. So what do I do? Well, I can set myself a buy zone, for example, let's say on SUI here, and obviously choose your coins as you wish. You all know what coins you wanted to buy in this dip because you've all been asking me, is it too late to buy this? Is it too late to buy this? Should I be buying this right now? What? You're trying to buy everything and then suddenly everything goes down and you're like, I don't want to buy anymore. It's like being like, I really want the iPhone for $1,000. And now suddenly you walk into the shop and the iPhone's at $600 and you're like, I want to wait until it's $1,000. Okay, something sketchy going on here. I don't trust them. Okay, I'm not willing to buy things cheaper than they are when they're going up. Okay, because I know you're scared, you think it's going to get worse. Maybe it does. Okay, but this is a much better price to buy than it was a few days ago, and it will go much higher next year than it is right now. But maybe you get in at a lower price. So what can we do? Well, we can say I might buy here on SUI. Okay, or maybe, just maybe, I'm willing to buy down here. I actually don't think it's going to get that far. But let's say I could go for the rectangles. Let's draw across this area of support. You see where the coin's bouncing in that area and going up. There's a good chance it goes up again from there. You could then say another box and have another box maybe down at these wicks, okay, these candle wicks here. And say, well, if I've got $50 or $100 to spare, I'm going to put $50 into SUI in the green box. And then I'm going to put another $50 into SUI should it get to the next green box. And I'm going to hope it gets to that bottom green box. This completely stops me from selling and panic selling. Okay, it gets me more into pro trading mode. So that if it bounces here, I'm okay. I've managed to buy the dip. But if it gets even lower, I've managed to buy an even better dip. Okay, this is just called DCAing in. And it will serve you pretty well during a bull market. Okay. How long do we stay in this downwards phase? Maybe by the time this video goes live, Bitcoin's back at all-time highs, in which case, happy days. But this is still very relevant because there will be more dips in the future. You just don't know how to time them. But maybe, just maybe, Bitcoin comes lower, comes down to around this level, okay? At which point, altcoins will bleed quite heavily, and then we're good to go. Ultimately, the only thing you can do right now is to understand that you don't know, and I don't know, and no one really knows what's going to happen to Bitcoin today, tomorrow, the next day. But we do know what's going to happen to Bitcoin over the next 6 to 8 months. And all you can do is prepare for every eventuality. Because if you sell right now, trying to get down to these levels, and suddenly Bitcoin rips against you, you are going to have to FOMO into altcoins, and it's going to be very painful. Because you can already see, after Bitcoin pushed back up, some of those alts that sold off very aggressively have already recovered aggressively. Look at Super. Okay, Super dumped all the way down and then pumped all the way back up around 22%. Okay, so if you bought into these dips, look, I've already got all these green boxes drawn on. Okay, we've already been buying these dips. Okay, we're already good to go. We've already made some money today. Well, obviously having lost a lot of other money, but you know what this kind of story is. Okay, it makes us feel better about it. Okay, so if you are trying to sell to get in lower because you think you know best, good for you. If you're wrong, you're going to be forced to ape in up here and it's going to be quite painful. However, if you are just like trickling down, you're still holding and you're able to buy the dips because you've got some money set aside for this, then obviously buy at these levels. Obviously not financial advice, do your own research, but buy into key areas of support and you won't go too far wrong. And one thing to be very cautious of that hopefully has allowed you to learn your lesson. If you are using money that you can't afford to lose, for example, your Christmas money that you're going to buy gifts for your family with, or the rent money that you need to pay next week, or whatever it is to buy crypto, then you've probably learned a very painful but valuable lesson. If you are over leveraged and you are in fear of markets tipping against you, then you should probably take some money out because guess what? The markets do tip against you. You're probably going to be forced to panic sell. If, however, you can wake up today and be like, tough times, you know, I'm not as rich as I was yesterday, but it's okay. In the future, we're going to be back. Then that's probably where you want to be. Okay, so anyway, what I would be personally doing is setting limit orders in these areas down here for some of my favorite altcoins. If you want to know which altcoins I've been buying into, go and check out the videos I've made recently on the small cap portfolio I've got and the large cap portfolio I've got. A lot of these coins I've talked about are at significant discounts. That is the time to go and watch these videos. That is the time to be able to go and set yourself some limit orders to be buying into it. So simply, if you've got money to DCA in, probably not a bad time. If you don't have money to DCA in, go and do something else and have a relax. Okay, times aren't that bad. We've got a big bull market ahead of us. Nothing to worry about. Now, guys, if you are trading on Coinbase or Binance, you're going to be very limited. You're not going to be able to access any small cap crypto coins because they're not available on these exchanges. Therefore, I recommend that you go over and use MEXC, which is linked down below in the description, because MEXC has 4,500 different crypto coins on offer. Every crypto coin you can think of is available on MEXC. Also, you can win from a $12 million prize pool and potentially win this supercar. 0% futures trading fees, which is absolutely incredible. And if you want, you can also use Bitunix, another exchange I use on a daily basis because it doesn't require a KYC and is available in every country. If you need to, you can use a VPN to be able to access this. But I also use both of these exchanges every single day, and you can use them to set limit orders. If you don't know how to set a limit order, go to YouTube and ask how to set a limit order for crypto, and you're going to understand why it's such a useful thing to do. Ultimately, a limit order is how you can basically set an automatic buy so that if you wanted to buy super, for example, and you were asleep and super went down there, it would go down there, it would fill your limit order, you would have bought, and you would have woken up this morning with a new bag of super that's up 22-23%. Guys, hope you enjoyed that quick update. Remember, things are all good. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow in another video. Bye-bye.